All right, so we in here with Arthur Rucker in the studio right here. So we're just gonna have a conversation about his life as a musician, what it's like behind the drum kit for ever. So right. So let's just start from the beginning. So what got you into drumming?
Man, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where my grandma, my granddad, my mama always told me ever since they can remember I've been beating on pots and pans. So it wasn't but it wasn't until I got to like a specific Christmas when I was 2 years old where I remember getting my first electric kit.
Okay.
Because I remember beating on, they had to give it to me early, as a matter of fact, because I was beating on all the presents and I caused them to rewrap them. But that's something else.
I'm weak, buddy. Beating all the presents. That's funny. Cool. So did you start? I guess you started in the church, or did you start just of course around the house, but you started in the church and kind of go from there?
Yeah, funny thing, man. So I had a babysitter. Her name was Miss Jones. Me and my brothers used to always go there. So one particular night, we had to go to church because my mom worked late. And I was about 5 years old at the time. Now, the only drumming experience I had was that of beating on stuff around the house, especially with my brother. So one night, the drummer didn't show up. And they knew I played or had a passion for it, so he showed me a beat and said, "Look, man, I just need you to follow from here on." And then the rest has been history.
Hey, Doc, we all look for that. Hope the drummer don't show a moment.
Man, I used to pray please God, don't let the drummer show.
Dude, them be the prayers they don't know about that.
Man, dude.
So going through school, did you do any like band, anything like that? Or?
I was too stubborn to go through band and all of that other type stuff. I actually ran into an issue, well, not an issue, but I ran into a situation where I met the band director. I was doing a conference for a church, and I was the main drummer. He showed up and was like, okay, we end up splitting and doing some other songs and whatever the case may be. It was cool. We ended up talking further, and his name was Maurice, by the way.
Okay.
And we ended up rapping. He's like, yeah, man, I'm the band instructor at Central, and this is that. I'm like, really? I'm like, I go to Central. So he told me to come down and always, check out the band, and he'll make sure that he took care of me and this, that, and the other. And my stubborn tail chose to go the other way.
Gotcha.
So the most drumming I was doing was just in church, and what little practicing I did do, if I practiced.
It'd be like that sometimes. Sometimes I wish I was a little more well-rounded because that was all I did. Like I did sports too, but especially in high school, I kind of wish I did like football and more basketball and all that. But here we are.
Yes, sir. Here we are.
So I guess getting out of school and everything, were you mainly in the church? Did you move around? Did you do any R&B stuff, or did you?
So mainly I was in a church. It wasn't until about 2013 when my job took me out of town. And I ended up running into Kevin Kelly in Nebraska.
Gotcha.
And, we had a short conversation. Well, not really. It was a long conversation, but it was a short one about this particular thing. And he was mainly telling me, he was asking me what I wanted to do. I was like, well, excited. I'm like, I want to play gospel for the rest of my life. That's what I want to do. I want to play the drums. Then he kind of shut it down. Kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because he was like, well, son, I hate to tell you, but it's not a lot of work in gospel. It is, but you're gonna have to be a well-rounded musician. So he said you're gonna have to play some Latin, some jazz, some pop, some rock, some country. You're gonna have to become versatile, especially if you want to be a musician, a working musician.
That's facts.
So ever since that point, that's when I started kind of drifting into like the R&B scene and looking for some jazz gigs and doing weddings and everything like that. And actually, it helped me because all I knew was gospel, and because all I knew was gospel, I had developed a lot of bad habits. Since gospel music is, a lot of it, some of it's repetitive.
Right.
So we come in and we able to listen to about 5 minutes, well, not 5 minutes, a minute of the song, and then kind of guess where the rest is going.
Exactly.
Can't do the same with R&B.
You definitely can't. They gonna know it.
Oh my Lord.
Boy, they gonna know it.
Boy, was I, man. I'll tell about this moment where there's a saxophone player. He used me as a gig here at the Cigar Lounge.
Oh, okay.
It was actually one of the, in the beginning time when I was using your drums, when you brought them to me in Belleville.
Yeah.
Most embarrassing moment of my life. Because somebody told me, he said, because you play gospel and they do all these different styles, he said, man, it's a jazz gig, man. It's going to be easy money for you. I went in there and I felt like I completely bombed. The other two was in sync and I legit was just like out there.
Bruh, it's a different vibe, man. I always tell people like you know, I feel like gospel should be like the melting pot of all music. So, you know, the whole thing about being well-rounded, but, I mean, you definitely got to go out there and experience, you know what I mean, the R&B scene, the rock, the jazz, because it's something different. When you bring it back, it definitely sets you apart, but being in there, if you try to go the other way, like, you know, locked in the church, and you try to go out there and those things, Doc, that stage will eat you alive, man. It will. So what were some of your influences kind of that helped you develop your sound?
Actually, man, I listened to a lot coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to a lot of Chris Johnson, a lot of Sean Wright. At one point, I was a real big Travis Barker fan. So, you know what I'm saying, that kind of helped a little bit, I guess, with me playing so hard and, you know, killing my stick sometimes.
Yeah.
But as far as, I mean, I'd listen to a little bit of Calvin Rogers, a little David Welkel, and a lot of just various drummers, because I never just left it at one thing. Because I always wanted to try to take something from everybody. Now, at first, I wasn't a huge Eric Moore fan, but even now, I listen to him because a lot of the small stuff he doing his playing is very dope.
I like the clarity in his playing, man. Like, of course, all them cats, you know, got certain type of clarity to their playing, but that dude is just, I mean, he just next level with his sticking and, you know, all of that. Him and I got back into Thomas Lane recently, and that dude, I'm just like, that dude sat there with a kick drum and a snare drum, and I thought Buddy had like a 25-piece kill. Like, bro,
man, you know, I actually follow him on IG, I believe, and he been releasing some videos, right? Because he plays Yamaha Zildjian, right?
He might have at one point. I know a lot of videos I've seen he DW in Minor.
Well, maybe we talking about two different drummers.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. But I recently got into Terry Breaker because of Jeffrey Burks. And when it comes to playing records and different like that, man, cats like Terry Breaker. Another good one, he from overseas, Cleverson Silva.
Oh yeah, man,
Andre Silva,
man.
Yeah, like
man.
You got cats who that's out here that's flying up under the radar, man.
And that's where the work is. Look at him,
man.
Like
dude.
Cats be at the crib eating that, like, and you ain't gotta leave the comfort of your home, man. But Cleverson, man, that dude, his placement is next level. His placement is next level, man. Like that dude is different. So okay. So as a drummer, as somebody who has gigged a lot quite extensively, you learn, you know, tricks of the trade along the way, who to listen to, who to pay attention to, and all that. So what, of course, you probably lock into the bass player a lot and pay attention to that, but what, as you listen to records, as you play different scenarios, what else do you pull from to add to how you play, you know, on the gig?
Honestly, the biggest thing right now is being a team player.
Yeah.
Listening to everything that's going around me, whether it be you got vocals, you got the lead guy, you got the person that's on keys, piano, organ, you know what I'm saying, bass, lead, like everything all plays together, and just knowing, it's just mainly just playing my part.
Yeah. That's probably one of the biggest lessons I learned at college. Like, especially you talked about like checking out Latin music, and that's playing your part is like, that's Latin all the way, man, because I remember my teacher, he was playing this Latin record, and everybody was kind of like in everybody else's lane, and he was just like, man, if people could just do their jobs. He was just like, you just make fries, like that's your job, just fry. And then everybody just did that, and it just came together, you know, next level. Because, I mean, not a lot of people know this, but, you know, traditional Latin, like, it wasn't no drum kit, you know what I mean? So you had a bass drum and a congo and another congo. You know, everybody played their one part over and over, and you create this groove, man. So playing your part is just it's huge. It's huge, but that's big that you know, listen, because a lot of drummers, you know, they either think drummer or they think drum and bass, and everything else is just obsolete. But
I used to be one of them guys, man.
Man, it's important to open your horizon, and, you know, you said like listen to vocals too. You know, that's huge. So how does that help you? How does that help you play when you listen to vocals?
So when listening to vocals and learning the words of a song, I can actually accent some stuff that I wouldn't normally accent when just playing with a band. So if you pretty much rehearse something and, you know, although they might not sing it the same, you got the same format. There's some chemistry created. So once you look at it, you be like, oh man, you know. Whereas I would normally probably put a crasher, let me try putting a splash, let me try a lighter tap, or, you know what I'm saying, just something different.
Right. As a I think maybe college too, but just, I learned it in college, but I didn't really grasp it until I did in the real world. Like playing not as a musician but as an arranger, it'll take you to the next level. Like it'll change your approach. You know what I mean? To how you when you think about stuff like that, lighter touch or shorter sound versus even sometimes probably as how to tune your drums. Depending on what kind of arena you're going into.
Right.
That's just huge, man. It's another tip to get you called because people will pick up on that you listen for stuff like that, and that's one of the things that you just set your resume apart.
Yes, sir.
So playing in church and doing a lot of stuff, studio work probably, and a little travel and stuff like that. Have you ever battled, like playing it from a ministry standpoint versus playing it from a gig standpoint?
Yes.
So how did you kind of get through that, or what's your strategy? When you know that you have to play from a ministry standpoint, to switch your mindset over.
Man, honestly, it's a process, and I still haven't quite figured it out yet. With me being so new to being like a full-time, quote unquote full-time musician, so it's one of those things where like, I just tell about this story where I did this gig. Well, it wasn't a gig, but I did this service every week, and it was draining, man. But it kind of helped pad my pockets. But at the same time, it was just seeming like it was just taken away from me versus adding, even though it was a check. And then I just up and quit. Not up and quit, but I kind of had a talk with the team or whatever the case may be, those in charge, and I kind of let them know where I stand. And when I quit, man, it was one of the best decisions of my life. So to me, I can't just play from a gig standpoint all the time. Not unless it's like an R&B gig or something like that. But when it comes to gospel, that's my foundation, that's my root. So if I'm not giving my all, or if I know I'm not, what am I playing for? What am I here for?
Yep.
Because I play for more than just a check. Now, when the check is involved, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're a musician. But other than that, man,
That's real. That's real. I know that's one of the things my mom instilled in me from birth. You know what I mean? Just, it's not all about the money. Just go and play for God. And it's, I kind of had to really, it's part of my just journey as as somebody who has a relationship with God, like, because I was never, I don't say never, but at that time, for the longest time, I was never playing for a check, but I was also never like ministering, you know what I mean, or like playing for God. So getting into that mindset, of doing that, it shifted me in a couple of different ways, musically too, though, because it's like, you kind of know like everything that you work on as a musician kind of gets enhanced. You know what I mean? Especially when the whole band is doing it. You know what I mean? Of course, you listen, you play from an arrangement standpoint, you learn your records, you practice. But when you're doing that and, in the church setting or in the gospel setting, you also ministering and playing for God, it's like all that kind of gets heightened and bruh, you go to a different place.
It's experience like no other, man.
You can't really put it into words. It's just something that happens.
They call it tapping in.
Yeah, man.
When you tap in and when everybody taps in simultaneously, man, dude, it's you do something as simple as, bada boom, and that mug resonates so, you know what I'm saying? Everybody like hands up,
dude. It's next level, and watching the reaction from the room when that stuff happens is just next level for me. That stuff is huge, man. So with that, there's an other side to where, some people might not like it, but it's the reality where you gotta leave the ministry alone for a second and deal with the business. You know what I mean? So, what's your, I guess, process for, having to turn that side on to where, of course I minister, but with some things not right in the business end, we got to go and put, our quote unquote gig hat on, and deal with some things.
Well, I've always been kind of a high-head, so for me, I had to learn that it's all about the approach and how you come in and talk to somebody.
That's big.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the biggest thing that you see, what you get, what you negotiate is what you get. So if you don't negotiate these things up front, when you get to a point where it's the end and everything's not really clear, then you know what I'm saying. Like poor preparation, like if you know what I'm saying, prevents proper planning. Well, you know, if you don't prepare properly, then you run into those issues where your plan gets messed up and you're like, oh man, now you done bought $3,000 worth of equipment, and you kind of stuck looking stupid.
Yep. It is. I was talking to my cousin a couple of days ago, how you got to kind of, you know, not that people play you, but you got to protect yourself, and you got to kind of know, you know, almost got to put a little bit of a lawyer hat on, you know, in certain instances, you know, not just in the church, but in the world too, and look at, you know what I mean, and just like you said, negotiate, because you see terms, you know, like it will, and, you know, if then and all this, you got to, well, you know, dig into some of the semantics, you know, and then, like you said, what you prep, deal with that stuff up front, bro. Now the rest, we can do what we do.
Right, then we move on. Oh, you want to rehire me for the next gig? Okay, cool. We can, you know, we can visit that.
Right.
But now the last thing you want to do is just, I would say, pray. And the reason why I say that is because you can run into issues where you do a gig and you were supposed to get a certain amount. Something happens to where you get lower. It happens. That comes with some territories. So, you know, you got to use your discernment, man. You got to be like, God, what is this? Do I let it go? And a lot of times, man, I've been in situations where I have let stuff go, and then I've been in situations where my pride wouldn't let me let stuff go. Because, you know, I always run into this thing where I'm like this man, so I'm like manly man, so I'm like, man, oh, you coming up against me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to go there with you. But now it ain't always about that, especially when it's dealing with, from a ministry standpoint, which separates, to me, ministry from gig. If I approach every opportunity when it comes to ministry as a ministry, something from a ministry standpoint, then I know that I'm not really chipping off the money. So I'm relying on God to take care of me, and as long as I keep that trust and that faith in God, then I don't have to worry about anything.
Bro, it's so true, bro. Because that's about the same time, man, when I really heavily, you know what I mean, just leaned on God for a lot, especially, you know, in the church, praying on, you know, what opportunity to take, what position to take, because, like you said, even if the money get messed up, if I know God sent me here, it's gonna be something else that I'm gonna benefit from. You know, I ain't gonna lie to you. Where I'm at now, you know, I prayed on it because I had at least 4 offers. You know what I mean? And I was frustrated because I was making. At the time, it's got a little bit better, but at the time, I was making the least amount of money ever. I'm talking about I'm in high school making more than what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? But I ain't really had to dig in nobody's pocket for nothing. You know what I mean? All my bills was made, all my bills, you know, was taken care of. I was able to get a new car. I was able, you know, all of that. I'm in the crib now. Like, so if God sends you someplace, you know what I mean, relying on your faith is heavy. It's heavy, man. So things go along. Of course, you have tons and tons of experience, but now you have started your own studio. So what led you there, man?
Man, it's always been my dream to help others create, you know, opportunity. Somebody helped me. Somebody gave me an opportunity. Somebody gave me a shot. Or when you asked me to record for you, that's you giving me a shot. I want to create that same thing. So I built the studio, not just for myself, because I'm a drummer and I love music, but for everybody else too. So you need vocals, you want to, you know what I'm saying, create a beat, you just want to rap, or you just want to do a song just to say you did it. Because, you know, you can come through. This place is for everybody.
Yeah, bro. I think that's huge. You know, I think it's dope, and I like seeing drummers specifically do things that's kind of off the kit. You know what I mean? Because you get put to this box as a drummer where, you know, everybody thinks it's your job to, you know, keep time and that's it. Or you play a simple beat. That's probably the most comical thing in churches specifically. I'll play the drum. It's not that hard. Like, oh, okay, you come do it then. You know what I mean? But
you just don't know,
dude. It's just hilarious, man. It's not all you do is hit that. Oh, okay, all I do, cool. Like, you know, but you know, seeing drummers write, seeing drummers arrange, seeing drummers like what was it, the Megan Williams record where Calvin was like the vocal director. I'm like, but stuff like that is dope. So, you know what I mean, seeing a drummer like yourself come and you did a lot of this work, right? Like all the construction and like even NASA trade, they ain't got nothing to do with drumming, you know. come and build a creative space, you know, not only for you as a professional, but other people as creators. You know what I mean? A dope space too. Like this ain't no Ricky Dink little space. I can tell you that. You know what I mean? Right now, folks can make a dope corner and the rest be trash. It's not that. It's not that, bro. So that's dope, man. So we gonna finish off with this, bro. So what? I guess these up and coming musicians or people just getting into the world, or people that may not know nothing about, you know, a musician or being a drummer specifically. What advice would you give to those people? I know it's a wider range I just gave you, but what would you say, you know, for people that's
listen before you speak, and watch your attitude.
bruh?
Even if you maintain a professional attitude at all times, even when someone, you know, crosses you or makes you mad or something of that nature, because something that could be real small will follow you. It will make people not want to work with you.
What's dope about that is they had nothing to do with drumming, and people don't realize how much character plays into, you know, into music, man. As how you play, how you do business, all of that, man. Character is huge, bruh. Yeah,
Yes,
man.
yes.
That's good stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
you will legit get passed over. You'll be like, man, I'm the dopest drummer around, man. Why he ain't use me for that track? I know he could have. He don't use that wet cat. Your character sucks, bro. Look at you. You ain't even congratulate dude. At least be like, hey, bro, hey, congrats, man. You got it. Hey, that's it.
You know what I mean?
There ain't gotta be no hating.
you gonna be the dopest drummer at the crib.
Yeah, bro. At the crib doing nothing, watching everybody else play. You living your dream through everybody.
Over it. That's the gig, bro. You heard it. You heard it from the man. You heard it from the man.